So today we will tackle about the earth processes. Geological processes are dynamic processes at work in the earth's landform and surfaces. So there are three mechanisms of earth processes. First is the weathering, second is the erosion, third is the deposition. Weathering is the breaking down of rock, erosion is the movement of sediment from broken rock, deposition is the dropping of sediment in a new place. Erosion, a natural process which is usually made by rock and soil being loosened from the earth's surface at one location and moved to another. So rain, wind, streams, these are the agents of erosion. Erosion involves removal and transport. Water erosion, the breakdown of solid rock into smaller particles and its removal by water. So moving water is a major agent of erosion. And there are types of erosion that occur as a direct result of rainfall. So first is the splash erosion. Raindrops may have sufficient kinetic energy when they fall on soil, then the impact can produce detachment and airborne movement of small soil particles. So these are the examples of splash erosion. As you can see in the picture, it has impact of falling raindrops and it creates small crater in the soil. Second is the sheet erosion. It is produced by heavy rain on bare soil where water flows as a sheet down gently sloping land, removing soil particles in thin layers evenly. So these are the example of sheet erosion. As you can see, it transport of loosened soil particles by overland flow with wide range. It is when a water moves fairly uniform. So parang naga-deeper yung lupa and naka-uniform siya. Naka-uniform yung daanan ng tubig. Third is the real erosion. It occurs when streamlets carve into the soil. So real erosion can be 0.3 meters deep. So this is the example of real erosion. So it is more deeper than the sheet erosion, and so when real erosion became too deep, it is starting to form gullies. Next is the gully erosion, results where water flows along a linear depression eroding a trench. Gully erosion can be more than 0.3 meters deep, up to 0.9 meters. The land becomes unfit for cultivation, and it can damage to agricultural lands. Once a gully becomes wide and deep enough, they are hard problem to fix and heal. It can affect more than just surrounding land and the ecosystem. If palagi na mag-ulan tapos magtambak yung mga lupa, it will form as valley or stream erosion. So next is valley of stream erosion. Is produced when water continuously flows along a linear feature, eroding downward, deepening the valley and extending the valley headwards towards the hillside. So this is the example of valley of stream erosion. So streams are one of the most effective surface agents that erode rock and sediments. As you can see sa picture, so sa valley or stream erosion, streams join to form rivers. Wind erosion, a natural process that moves soil from one location to another by wind power. So ang example is yung first picture na nasa left part. So wind erosion can be caused by a light wind that rolls soil particles. Strong wind that lifts a large volume of soil particles into the air create dust storms. Next is wind abrasion, a process of erosion produced by a suspended particles that impact on solid objects. The example is the picture at the center. So marami ka makikitang wind abrasion sa desert places. It is when wind charged with sand tapos yung sand is didikit sa bato. Ice erosion. Snow deposited at high elevations has potential energy that is converted into energy of motion when it's converted to ice and flows as a glacier. The example is the picture. So, ang ice erosion is yung pagguho ng yelo and is caused when sediments are picked up by a glacier. Gravity erosion, an erosional process that moves rocks and sediments downslope due to the force of gravity. So, gravity impacts erosion in direct ways like landslides, mudslides, and slump. It is caused by pulling dirt, rocks, and soil downwards.
Good day everyone! So my report is all about weathering. So what comes in your mind when you hear the word weathering? So weathering is caused by elements or weather wearing away the surface of a rock, breaking of rocks into smaller rocks or sediments. So weathering refers to the breakup or decay of rocks and minerals on the Earth's surface. So when a rock has been divided, a mechanism or a process known as erosion moves the rock and minerals further. So in conclusion, weathering and erosion are caused by water, acids, salt, trees, wildlife, and temperature fluctuation. So next. So I've listed in here two types of weathering. So it includes physical weathering and chemical weathering. So first, physical weathering is the breaking down of rocks without a change in composition, while chemical weathering is the breaking down of rocks with a change in composition. So let's tackle first about physical weathering. So physical weathering is a scientific term that refers to a geological mechanism or process by which rocks falls apart without changing their chemical composition. So it means that the movements of the Earth and its atmosphere will break off rock formation over time. So this will result in physical weathering. On the contrary, chemical weathering is the chemical decomposition of elements in the Earth's crust. So it alters or it changes the chemical structures of minerals. So the causes of decomposition are oxygen, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen. So in conclusion, chemical weathering is most common in areas with extremely hot and humid temperature. So next is, I've listed in here 4 types of examples of physical weathering. So it is the frost action, abrasion, exfoliation, and road raging. So first, let's talk about frost action. So frost action is the result from the alternating freezing or thawing of water. So the mechanism of weathering caused by freezing and thawing of water in pore spaces, gaps, and other spaces. So rocks extend and compress as a result of regular seasonal heating and cooling, causing them to split along grain boundaries. So as you've seen in the photo, at the left photo, the frost has raised soil grains and sticks off the ground, while in the right photo, the ice has built along the rock matrix of the hill in that area. So next is abrasion. So abrasion means rocks and sediments grinding against each other wear away surfaces. The rocks became smoother and rough and jagged edges breaks off. So it means that abrasion is an erosion phenomenon that happens as the material being transferred scratches away at a surface. So in the photo here, we can see a process of discoloring, cracking, grinding off, tarnishing, and rubbing away the surfaces due to friction. And also it happens as water and wind flow over rocks. Next is exfoliation. So exfoliation is a term used to describe the peeling away of sheets of rock millimeters to meters in thickness from a rock's surface. So exfoliation is a pressure release mechanism or process that causes large flat or curved sheet of rock to crack and separate from the rock formation. So when erosion separates the overflow from a rock sheet and high pressure deep in the earth's crust. So it means that the rock is allowed to spread, that will result in cracking and fractures along the stone. So this is usually seen in upland areas with uniform finely sliced crystalline igneous rocks exposures, as you've seen in the photo. Next is root wedging. So root wedging is the process in which roots grow into cracks in rocks and force the cracks open as they continue to grow. So this means that the mechanism by which roots develop into cracks in rocks and push the cracks apart as they develop, known as root wedging. So if the roots expand, then it means they contain organic acids, so thus eroding the rock and providing more room for the roots to grow into. So that's it for physical weathering. So let's proceed to the 4 examples for chemical weathering. So it is the oxidation, carbonation, hydration or hydrolysis, and organic activity. So first, let's talk about oxidation. So oxidation is when oxygen reacts with the minerals of rock. So oxidation, which happens when oxygen reacts with another substance to form oxides. So as rock, especially those are containing iron, are exposed to atmosphere. So the iron oxidizes, so it will result to the weakening and shattering of rocks, as you've seen again in the photo. Next is carbonation. So carbonation is carbon dioxide gas dissolves in groundwater forming weak carbonic acid. So large masses of limestones can be dissolved forming caves, stalactites, and sinkholes. So this is another example of chemical weathering, which is carbonation. So carbonation is the process of combining water and carbon dioxide to produce carbonic acid. So this type of weathering is very important because it is for the formation of caves. And carbonic acid is formed when carbon dioxide absorbed in rainwater or wet air, and this acid will interact or connects or mixes with minerals in rocks. So next is hydration or hydrolysis. So it is the chemical breakdown of substance when combined with water. So hydration is a type of chemical weathering in which the chemical structures of the mineral change as it mixes with water. So hydration will happen or will occur as the mineral anhydrite mixes with groundwater. So in particular, sodium minerals reacts with water in certain rocks to produce saltwater solution. So the last example for chemical weathering is organic activity. So organic activity is the breakdown rock minerals by altering the rock's chemical composition. So organic weathering, also known as bioweathering or biological weathering, is a general term for biological weathering processes that breaks down rocks. So this involves physical root penetration and formation, animal mining practices, or what we call bioturbation. So, and the activities of trees and plants and corals on the organic matter. So physical weathering also is caused by organic activities or activity by plants and animals. So physical weathering can be caused by tree roots that develop into creases and small animals that nest or burrows. Rocks can be dry out and fall or collapse as a result of tree roots over mountains or high mountains. So lastly is deposition. So deposition is the geological process in which sediments, soil, and rocks are added to a landform or landmass. So deposition occurs as weathered rocks, soil, and sediments are transported to form a new place by erosion, as you've seen in the photo. Deposition occurs as the forces that transport the sediments like wind, water, and such are no longer strong enough to lift the surface water. So, in the spring, rivers and lakes are filled with melting snow. So, that's all, everyone. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned well in my presentation. Stay safe.